This is a Midwest Minute with Matt. Before we get started, just a quick note. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice and does not replace evaluation or treatment from a qualified healthcare provider. Listening to the podcast does not establish a provider-patient relationship. Every brain injury is unique and what we discuss may not directly apply to your situation. If you're experiencing symptoms or have concerns, please seek care from a licensed medical professional. If this is an emergency, please call 911 or your local emergency services immediately. Hello and welcome to another episode of a Midwest Minute with Matt, simple concussion conversations that just make sense. My name is Matt Campbell and I'm the host of the podcast, and today we have episode 16 titled Finding the Fine Line. One of the hardest parts of concussion recovery isn't knowing what to do. It's trying to figure out how much of each thing I should be doing. Should I go for a walk? Should I go back to work after lunch? Should I go home and take a nap, or should I just wait until bedtime? Many people think concussion recovery is the two extremes. We're either not doing anything or we're doing too much. The truth is, it's neither one of those things. Concussion recovery is a fine line between doing too much and not enough. And to assure that we're making recovery progress forward, we need to establish where that fine line is. Today, we're going to be talking about how to recognize the fine line, steps that you can take to make sure that you're keeping an eye on where your line is for that day, and practical signs that you need to figure out how much is too much during your concussion recovery. So let's talk about the two extremes. During concussion recovery, you fall into one of two traps. They're either push through everything and keep going and trying to be normal as possible, or why don't you go sit in that dark room and rest for the next couple days? Both of those things will delay your concussion recovery. The old school treatment approach for concussions was, hey, why don't you go just sit in this dark room until you feel better? Eventually, you'll feel better and then you can come back out. Well, research has now proven that not only did people not get better sitting in that dark room, it actually delayed their concussion recovery because they weren't getting enough stimulus. On the flip side of that, mind over matter is great until the mind is what's the matter. Eventually, if you keep pushing and ignoring what's being told to you through your symptoms, you're going to start getting worse and worse and worse, and eventually you are going to shut down. Concussion recovery is not pushing through everything to continue to do what we would normally do. It's a fine line between doing too much and not enough. We have to establish where that fine line is, and then we have to respect that line. Recovery isn't about doing everything all of the time. It's also not about doing nothing at all. It's that balance between doing too much and not enough. It's about finding where your fine line is and listening to the feedback that we're getting. Your fine line during concussion recovery isn't a fixed line. Your brain's capacity for activities will change on a day-to-day basis. It might even change on an hour-to-hour basis. One of the most frustrating parts of helping people navigate through concussion recovery is finding that fine line. If I give you 10 things to do for the next 10 days, you might present 10 completely different ways afterwards. It's frustrating for you, it's frustrating for me, it's frustrating for anybody that's involved in brain injury recovery because it's a dynamic, ever-changing concept. It's not a fixed line. Just because you did something yesterday doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it today. Just because you couldn't do something yesterday doesn't mean that you aren't going to be able to do it today. There are a lot of factors that increase or change our capacity for activity. One of them being sleep. Sleep gets better, our capacity goes up. Sleep gets worse, our capacity goes down. Stress, work environments, relationships, exercises, busier environments, even the weather and illness can affect the brain's capacity for activity during a given day or a given time. That's why it's so challenging, because so many things may change or fluctuate on a day-to-day basis that makes establishing that fine line very difficult. And it's why we need to continue to focus on where your fine line is during concussion recovery. The fine line you have today may not be the same line tomorrow. It may not even be the same line again in the next hour, but recognizing where your fine line is and respecting that fine line is a key to your concussion recovery. So how do we establish what your fine line is? We take a look at your symptoms. Your symptoms are not the bad guy. Anybody that's heard me talk, you've heard the phrase, symptoms are not the enemy. Symptoms are feedback. The brain is telling you what it likes and what it doesn't like. We need to listen to the symptoms that are going up and going down during activities to help us establish where that fine line sits. Symptoms aren't always a sign that you've done something wrong. Sometimes they're a warning flag that's telling you you're starting to do too many things. Many times it's the brain communicating its needs through physical changes to try to get you to listen. The brain's protection mechanism for itself post-brain injury is to increase symptoms. A lot of times, you being awake is why you have symptoms. The brain is really trying to get you to go to sleep. Again, sleep is the number one performance enhancing drug in the world. We want to be better looking, funnier, smarter, more athletic. Overall, we want to be better people. We need to sleep. The challenge is sleep is really hard post-brain injury, but that's the easiest way we have to protect our brain's capacity for activity is to focus on high quality and high quantity of sleep. But if symptoms are going up and you've approached that fine line and all of a sudden we've done too much and you feel overloaded or overwhelmed, did you ruin your recovery? No. Stop focusing on did I ruin my recovery or did I do anything to make recovery worse? And start focusing on what symptoms went up before I started to feel this way. What symptoms do I notice now that I'm done with the activity and I'm settled back down are different than before I started doing something? Don't focus on the negative outcome. Focus on the information that you received during the activity that you were doing. That information can help us establish where your fine line is for that given day, and it can help us modify our activities moving forward to respect where that fine line truly sits. Confidence comes from experience during concussion recovery. It's not about avoiding activities all the time. It's about making sure that we're able to handle the activities that we're trying to do. And one of the only ways to tell if you can truly handle the activity is to do it. The more we're able to do things without symptoms going up, the more the brain associates that information or that activity with a positive outcome. The more activities or situations that we can associate with a positive outcome, the more the brain will recover, the faster things will get back online. When we're trying to figure out the fine line between doing too much and not enough, it's not like you can just read it in a book. It's not like you can just wake up in the morning and go, you know what? This is where my line sits today. You have to find it by going through activities and by living through it. Trying things, learning, adjusting, retrying, learning, adjusting. It's a complex situation that we need to focus on during your concussion recovery. Concussion recovery is about expanding your line or increasing your tolerance. It isn't about staying below the line either. It isn't about avoiding activities at all. The goal of your concussion recovery is about expanding your line, taking that line and moving it closer and closer and closer to your normal activities. The goal isn't to avoid the line or just stay below the line the entire time. The goal is to gradually increase what your brain can tolerate by doing something, by doing activities, by going out and being around people, taking the symptoms that are going up and adjusting our timing. If I go out to a restaurant and I can be there for 30 minutes before my headache starts going up, I now know that if I go in there for 25 minutes, I can essentially avoid that overload. We try it. If I'm sitting in an environment or I'm doing an activity and all of a sudden my headache goes from a 0 to a 2, or my symptoms of dizziness go from a 1 to a 3, I know that on that 0 to 10 scale, my symptoms have increased to 2 points. It's time for me to modify my activities. Concussion recovery isn't about avoiding our activities or avoiding things together. It's about trying to find the balance between doing too much and not enough. Once we've established that activity or established that fine line, we know what we need to do to continue to progress you during your concussion recovery. Recovery isn't about being perfect. There's going to be days where we do too much. There's going to be days where we lay low and don't really do much of anything. It's not about being perfect. It's about putting small, consistent steps together and continuing to take one step forward every day. Just because we're avoiding activities or we're trying to modify your day-to-day routines, it doesn't mean that this is going to be this way forever. We need to focus on putting one foot in front of the other and continuing to build our tolerance for activity and continue to push that fine line moving forward. If this episode helped something click for you, share it with somebody who needs it. If you would like to learn more about your concussion recovery, please visit mwconcussion.com. If you'd like to be a podcast guest or you have a question that you'd like to answer on the podcast, you can DM me on any of our social media accounts at MWConcussion. I would love to sit down and chat with you and have another Midwest Minute with Matt.